Another iPad, you say? Really? They just can't stop making these iPads. Apple's in an interesting place because they have now essentially, since they released the Magic Keyboard Folio for the iPad Pro, they've essentially turned their iPads into full-on computers with iPad OS. There's now this whole new category of like relatively cheap machines that you can basically use as your laptop. And this is the newest entry in that category, which is the iPad Air 2020 edition. It's $599, which seems steep for a tablet, but like I said, it's not really just a tablet. It's a laptop if you wanna use the Magic Keyboard. So I'm excited to look at this because at their last event, they also announced the 8th gen iPad, which is more of like your traditional, looking iPad with the big bezels on the top and bottom, and that starts at $329. But this one starts at $599 because it essentially has a bunch of the cool features of the iPad Pro, but in a cheaper package, apparently. We're gonna find out together. Let's take a look. Whoa. Pretty cool design. Did you see that, Andy? Does that make you wanna use this iPad?
Yes!
Wow, enthusiasm. Now, also I'm scared because this came from D-Brand, right? What is this? What is that supposed to be? Oh, Tech Quickie, wait. Oh, okay, wait, this is cool. I changed my mind right away. What's going on here? In loving memory, Wanick. Entropy is unstoppable. That's our server that died, right? Or is it still up? There's another Wanick. I don't know the server stuff, that's Anthony. Do we have a Wanick right now?
Yeah.
Why not? Why not? Tech Quickie, nice. Short circuit in the style of like Stranger Things, sort of. Supernova, oh, from Laszlo. This is so cool. Who made this? Carpool Critics, yay! Anyways, so back to what we were talking about. The iPad Air 2020. So this is the 10.9 inch version, because that's the only version. Unlike the iPad Pro, which comes in an 11 inch and a 12.9 inch. Yeah, but apparently it's still compatible with the same keyboard attachments as the iPad Pro. So I've got our old 11 inch iPad Pro, and I've got the 12.9 inch iPad Pro 2020 along with the Magic Keyboard. So we're gonna see how that goes. But first, let's take a little bit of a look at the physical hardware. So on the back, you'll see there's only one camera. This is the 12 megapixel wide camera. It's the same one that's on the previous version of the iPad Pro, and it also had a 10 megapixel, I think, ultra wide camera, as well as the LiDAR sensor, whereas this one just has the one 12 megapixel wide. So that's what you're getting for the slightly cheaper price, along with some other things that we'll talk about. But this is the first non-Pro iPad to feature this sort of like square design here. It's kind of like, when was the first time they used that? The iPhone 5? 4? The iPhone 4 was the first time we kind of saw that, and now like this is the design language they're using for the iPad Air. So I guess like, this is interesting. I guess the iPad Air is now sort of like a higher tier category than the regular iPad. Was that always the case? What was the case with MacBooks? The MacBook was the lowest, I guess, and then the MacBook Air, yeah, that makes sense, I guess, right? The basic design is very, very similar to this iPad Pro from 2018? How's the bezels though? I'm kind of interested. Oops. Just settle down. Oh, they're the bezels, okay, so the bezels are a little bit thicker on the iPad Air, and I believe that they'll probably be thicker than the iPad Pro too. Can you see all those at once, Andy? So this is the iPad Pro 2018, iPad Pro 2020. This is the iPad Air 2020. So you got a little bit thicker bezels, even though it's still 11 inch. Well, that's why it's 10.9 instead of 11 inch anyways. Staying on the theme of physical hardware here, we got the 4 speaker setup, 2 on each side. So that's also borrowed from the iPad Pro design. There's the magnetic pencil mount that I was talking about. But the other big difference here is the lack of Face ID. They actually brought back Touch ID for the iPad Air. Special, it got a special deal. On the power button on the top, who do I show that to? Andy? Show it to you right there? Can you see that? This thing? That's Touch ID. Because especially in the era of masks and whatnot, you know, people need to use their computers without their computer seeing their faces. And yes, I'm calling it a computer. Watch our other iPad videos. The debate is over. It's a computer now. We also have the Smart connector on the back, these 3 little dots here, which should allow it to be compatible with the Folio keyboard that I threw on the ground. Hey, look at that. Okay, so I think it does. It is compatible with it. And then if I wanna use it like a laptop, there we go. Hola, mon amigos. That's not right. Unfortunately, we don't have the 11-inch size of the Magic Keyboard, which I really liked when I reviewed it, so I'm just gonna like bring that out. So like, if you'll recall from our other iPad content, we got this iPad, 12.9-inch iPad Pro, and it's got this really cool like levitating design. You see that, Andy? And the Magic Keys, which are awesome and which I love. So you can get like a 11-inch size of this to use with the iPad Air as well. But once you start adding accessories like that and your pencil, then things get expensive fast. And also the $599 version is only for the 64 gig model. So the 256 gig version I think is $749, so that's slightly less of a good deal. Man, this thing's heavy, I forgot how heavy it is. This thing's a lot lighter, a lot lighter. Students, maybe use that as your laptop, you know? Another big change is USB-C. You're seeing a theme here. These are all iPad Pro features that they've now ported over to the iPad Air, which is why I was excited to see this thing, because one of the biggest downsides to the iPad Pro was its price. You know, the 11-inch model starts at $800. This is 64 gigs of storage for $599. If you got a family and they're like, we're Apple till we die, dude, and they have to get an Apple product, they have to get like an iPad, then, you know, it's an option. I didn't even look at what else was in the box. Right, yeah, in the box is just, you know, your papers, your whatsies and your doozies and, you know, your normal things.
Stickers.
Are there stickers in there? You're right, John wanted me to say specifically, mention the stickers.
And you got 2.
And you got 2, so you could put one sticker one place and another sticker anywhere else. Multiple places. Thanks, Apple. You got a USB-C power adapter, because as I said, it's got USB-C, and a USB-C to C power cord. Okay, I've talked a lot about the outside of this thing. It's time to go inside. But before we do that, gotta talk about our sponsor, Private Internet Access. Private Internet Access is a VPN that lets you access services and websites as if you were in a different country. They encrypt all your internet traffic and they use a safe protected IP. You can connect up to 5 devices at once because they got clients for Windows, macOS, Android, iOS, and Linux. And if you sign up for a 1-year plan at $39.95, you get 3 months free at our link in the video description, so check it out. Hey, there we go, iPad OS, it's a computer. Hey, it's not just a tablet anymore. Although it's kind of funny because iPads are really some of the only tablets worth buying in the market right now, because Android tablets have just, Samsung's making some okay ones still, but like the rest of the entire Android tablet market has just fallen off completely. And the last few remaining tablets that are worth buying are now like basically full-on computers. What happened to tablets? We didn't want tablets this whole time. We just wanted a different type of computer. Hey, let's set up the Touch ID, why not? Start by placing your finger or thumb on the top button. So, okay, so I'm gonna usually have it like around here, so. Okay, here we go. We're gonna map my fingerprint. It works about, what? Holy crap, it's getting mad at me because I'm not doing it right. Wow, this takes a while, eh? I gotta say, this is one of the more annoying fingerprint mapping things I've done.
Did it work?
It did. Let's lock it. Are you ready for this? It's pretty quick. That's pretty quick, John. Now, the question is, why did they include Touch ID instead of Face ID? Because they got these big fat bezels, you'd think they could fit it on. And I already figured out the answer, so you don't have to tell me, it's price. It's probably more expensive to have those fancy, you know, infrared or whatever I don't know, what do they use? Dot projectors, LiDAR, Project Soli, in you know, and include all those fancy sensors in the bar. So now you save a little bit of money and you get your Touch ID, which like a lot of people prefer to Face ID anyways, because when you're just kind of like, hello, hi, and it doesn't recognize you, it's very frustrating. Well, now that I'm in here, I don't really know what there is for me to do. Well, one of the interesting features that Apple has added to iOS 14, or iPad OS 14, I guess, is this pencil support for just writing in any field where you can type. You can now just write with a pencil and it'll translate it into text. Something that, you know, Windows had a long time ago. But when Apple does it, it's a big frickin' deal. That's one of the cool things, but I guess we'll have to look at that when we do the full review on Linus Tech Tips, which I am going to write.
Hey.
Oh.
Be sure to subscribe.
Be sure to subscribe. So now you might have been watching this whole thing and being like, what do you mean it's a computer? What are you talking about? Well, this actually has a more powerful chip than the one in the iPad Pro last generation. Well, not even last generation, it was just earlier this year. There's an A12Z Bionic in the last version, and this one has the A14 Bionic, which is the same chip that's found in the new iPhone 12 and iPhone 12 Pros. Even though this is a cheaper product, in some like canned benchmarks, it might even outperform the iPad Pro from earlier this year. As I said, it's got 64 gigs of storage at the base level, $599. It's got 4 gigs of RAM though. I think you got 2 more gigs of RAM in the iPad Pro. And the display, in addition to having these larger bezels, it is only 60 hertz instead of the ProMotion 120 hertz that you'll find on the iPad Pro, which is, where'd the unicorn one go? Oh, it was disguised. I thought this was my laptop. Let's turn it up. You gotta turn up Crab Rave. You can have a Crab Rave with that. Well guys, there you have it. It's a new iPad, and if you were thinking about getting the iPad Pro, but you were like, it's a little steep, then consider this one after you watch our full review that's gonna come out on linustechtips.com. Wait, linustechtips.com is the forum, right?
Yeah.
Subscribe. Actually, yeah, join the forum. It's good stuff. There's good discussion happening. But anyways, so thanks to dbrand for sending us this thing, and for the extremely, I like this skin. The other ones I didn't know how I felt about, but this one I'm down for. Lots of cool insider references. That's really nice, guys. Love ya, and love you, viewer, for watching this video. Subscribe to Short Circuit for more of these, and subscribe to our other channels for more of other things that aren't Short Circuit, but are similar.
Carpool Critics.
Carpool Critics Movie Podcast, don't forget.